If you log into a modern AI chatbot and ask how its day is going, you might watch it methodically typing out a response about feeling lonely or excited or overwhelmed. It is incredibly easy to read those words and feel a flicker of sympathy for the machine. Compare that to an animal sitting quietly in a field. Because that animal cannot speak to us, humans often assume it lacks a rich inner life. We tend to link the ability to use words with the capacity to feel. Philosophers and neuroscientists use a much simpler baseline to define consciousness. It has nothing to do with speaking a language or passing a math test. It simply means that for a conscious creature, it feels like something to be alive. You experience the redness of an apple or the sting of a cold wind. Our human obsession with language creates an empathy trap. We eagerly project a conscious mind onto a few lines of talking code, while we frequently overlook the conscious experience of silent, biological creatures standing right in front of us. Look at this split-screen diagram to see how science separates two often confused concepts. On the left, intelligence is a function, the ability to process information and solve problems. On the right, consciousness is the subjective, internal feeling of experiencing a thought or sensation. Modern artificial intelligence is highly capable of navigating the maze on the left. It can solve incredibly complex problems, but it lacks the biological foundation required to feel the colors on the right. To understand why a quiet animal experiences the world while a highly intelligent chatbot remains entirely in the dark, we have to move past the most popular metaphor in modern science, the idea that the brain is a computer made of meat. In a digital computer, there is a clear separation between physical hardware and floating software, allowing the same software to run on different machines. But inside the human brain, hardware and software are a seamlessly integrated system. Thinking is tied directly to living matter. Every time a single biological neuron fires, that cell performs physical, metabolic work. It might fire simply to pump out waste products and stay alive. In biology, the act of processing information is inseparable from the physical act of staying alive. This total entanglement means there is no software to copy in the first place. You can simulate the patterns of a brain on a digital server, but without the physical, metabolic drive of a living system, you have created a map of the experience, not the experience itself. To see how that biological machinery creates your reality, picture your brain locked inside the dark, silent cavern of your skull. It has no direct access to the outside world. All it receives are chaotic electrical signals traveling up your sensory nerves. For a long time, the traditional view was that perception worked from the bottom up, meaning the eyes and ears acted like passive cameras, simply sending video and audio feeds into the brain to be viewed. The modern understanding works from the top down. The brain actually blasts out its own internal predictions of what it expects the world to look and sound like. It then collides them with the smaller signals coming from the senses, using those sensory signals merely to correct its own guessing errors. The roots of this idea stretch back to the 19th century, when scientist Hermann von Helmholtz first proposed that perception is a process of the brain making its best internal guesses, rather than just reading the outside world. Your everyday reality is a controlled hallucination. Your brain paints a continuous picture from the inside out, and your senses continually tether that painting to the physical world. We can catch the brain in the act of painting this hallucination by looking at what happens when its prediction balance shifts. Neuroscientists and doctors like Oliver Sacks have long used unique clinical conditions to reverse engineer exactly how normal consciousness functions. Take the condition known as synesthesia. A person with synesthesia might hear a musical note and experience it as a rich burst of visual color. Their brain blends the sensory inputs in a highly specific way, creating a distinct conscious experience. Conditions like synesthesia reveal that the universe we experience is entirely constructed by our unique biological hardware. When the biology changes, the reality changes with it. This is how scientists approach the search for consciousness in animals. Instead of waiting for a dog or a bird to speak, researchers map their unique nervous systems to understand how they construct their own biological guessing games. This helps us evaluate the AI chatbot from the beginning. A language model strings words together with incredible mathematical precision. but it lacks the internal, biological drive to predict its own survival. Without that biological anchor, there is no one inside to feel the results of the math. Computing is the act of solving a problem. Consciousness is the messy, biological act of feeling what it is like to exist. The next time a machine talks to you, remember it is running mathematical equations. But when a quiet animal looks back at you, recognize the shared biological hallucination happening right behind its eyes.